Alright guys, off season for the online league and for the XFL, the Patriots ended up winning the Super Bowl in the online CFM, and the Dallas Renegades are the XFL champions. So going into the next season, a lot of these players will be entering the draft out of the XFL. So here are your top 15 XFL prospects. Number 15, we have St. Louis, a pass rusher from the Dallas Renegades. He played 2 years at Arkansas's Pine Bluff and a year in the XFL. He's 23, 6'3", 251 pounds. His pros, he's decent at everything, but he's not elite at anything. He's well coached. His cons are a lack of experience. He's a situational player. He's not elite. His accolades are he was the 2021 Defensive Rookie of the Year for the XFL. Number 14, we have Connor Anderson, another pass rusher. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 22 years old, 6'1", 245 pounds. His pros are he's a good speed rusher and a decent run stopper. His cons, he's a good player, but he's not elite and he lacks strength. Number 13, we have Trayvon Muses, linebacker for the Salt Lake Stallions. He spent 2 years in the XFL. Before that, he spent 3 years playing at Louisville. He's 24 years old, 6'1", 251 pounds. He's a sideline-to-sideline thumper. He doesn't really understand coverage concepts, but he can be taught that. Number 12, we have Corey Lee. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 22 years old, 6'1", 239 pounds. He's sideline to sideline guy, good knowledge. He has decent speed. His cons are he lacks strength though, and he can't defeat blocks. His stats for his career stats from the XFL are 301 tackles, 5.5 sacks, and 2 interceptions. That's through 2 seasons. Number 11, we have wide receiver Keenan Pittman from the Dallas Renegades. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 24 years old, 5'11", 203 pounds. He has good speed, great acceleration, and good hands. He's a good route runner, and he plays big in big games. If you've seen the series, you know the last 2 years, Keenan Pittman was balling in the XFL playoffs. His cons are his height and his age, but if you stick him in the slot, his height won't really be that big of an issue. Number 10, Allen Phillips, the halfback for the Seattle Dragons. He spent 2 years in the XFL, 4 years playing for Michigan State. He actually graduated from Michigan State. He's 25 years old, 5'11", 226 pounds. His pros are he's a hard runner, has decent change of direction, and he's a bell cow. But like he had over 500 carries this season. His cons are he has average hands and he's all power and he's old. He's a 25-year-old guy entering the draft. His stats through 2 seasons at the XFL, 3,538 rushing yards and 32 rushing touchdowns. Number 9, we have Andrew Arianes, the breakout guy who exploded onto the scene during the XFL playoffs, the wide receiver from the Houston Roughnecks. He spent 2 years in the XFL before declaring for the draft. He's 23 years old, 6'2", 203 pounds. He's elite in the quick game, above average hands, great change of direction and acceleration. His cons are his medium and deep route running needs some polishing, and he has average speed. He does have good height and everything else, but his mid to deep routes need some work. Number 8, we have Janity Reddick, the tight end from the Atlanta Legends. He spent 2 years in the XFL with the Legends and 4 years playing at Maryland. He's 26 years old, 6'3", 261 pounds. He has good speed, good hands, and good route running. His cons are he's a tweener. He has the weight of a tight end and the height of a wide receiver, and he's a horrible blocker. But then you add on to the fact he's 26 years old. So he's a good player. It's just, would you rather work with somebody younger? Number 7, we have Alton Callaway, the defensive tackle for the Atlanta Legends. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 23 years old, 6'4", 315 pounds. He's a beefy gap stuffer, good tackler, good power rusher, but his cons are he doesn't really have a finesse to his game, so it's going to be hard to put him on the field on third down when blockers know what's coming. Number 6, Cassius Mosley, defensive back for the Atlanta Legends. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 22 years old, 5'9", 190 pounds. His pros are he has elite change of direction and quickness. He has a decent understanding of the game, but he lacks elite speed for a corner, and he's undersized. But I feel like at 5'9", you move him to safety with his elite change of direction, he wouldn't have that big of an issue, but he might have a problem playing corner at 5'9". Number 5, we have our first quarterback of the list, and it's going to be Marlon Alston, the quarterback for the Dallas Renegades. He spent 1 year in the XFL, 2 years playing at the University of California. He's 22 years old, 6'2", 235 pounds. His pros are he has a good arm, he's great, he's deadly accurate, short and over the middle. His cons are lack of mobility, his deep ball accuracy was a little iffy, and was he carried. Colin Kaepernick in the same system threw for 5,000 yards, and he goes into the same system and he throws 5,578 yards, 50 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. But he has a lot of accolades. He was the 2021 Offensive Rookie of the Year for the XFL. He led the XFL in passing touchdowns, and he won the XFL Championship Game. He also broke the record for passing yards in a playoff game with 426. Number 4, we have Jeff Williams, the tight end for the Dallas Renegades. He spent 2 years in the XFL and 2 years playing at Houston. He's 24 years old, 6'8", 275 pounds. His pros are he's a height, weight, speed guy, good hands, he's an average blocker. His cons are at times he forgets how to use his body. He's a bad route runner. I mean, his routes were horrible, but his speed made up for his horrible route running. But then again, you can teach a guy to run routes and to use his body. You can't teach a guy to be big and fast. Number 3, we have defensive back Cordero Childs for the St. Louis Battlehawks. He played corner for them. In the XFL, he spent 2 years in the XFL and 2 years at Minnesota. He's 23 years old, 6'1", 200 pounds. Pros are height, he has good press, good play recognition, though he lacks elite speed and didn't do much tackling. Now, this is the kind of guy you just line him up over a man and you could tell him, hey, I need you to follow this guy wherever he goes. And he can do that, but it's going to take him some time to develop learning how to play like zone coverages and stuff in the NFL. The number 2 XFL prospect is Melquan Elliott, wide receiver for the Salt Lake Stallions. He spent 2 years in the XFL, 1 year at Ole Miss. He's 23 years old, 6 feet tall. He's 193 pounds. His pros are average speed, average hands, elite route running, and good release. Cons are he can't make the tough catches. Was he force fed the ball, and where was he in the big games? His stats are he had 302 receptions, 4,196 receiving yards, and 37 touchdowns in 2 years in the XFL. His accolades are he was the 2020 leader in receptions with 141, 2020 leading receiver in touchdowns with 20, the 2020 receiving leader in yards with 1,933. Talk about a tongue twister. The 2021 leading receiver in receptions with 161, the 2021 receiving leader in touchdowns with 17, and the 2021 leading receiver in yards with 2,263, and he's also was the 2021 XFL MVP. Goodness. And number 1, we have the golden boy, Tristan White, the quarterback for the Atlanta Legends. He spent 2 years in the XFL. He's 20 years old, 6'6", 216 pounds. Pros are he has a powerful arm, good mobility, he's a winner, he's played in big games. His footwork leads to inconsistent accuracy at times, and he has a tendency to play hero ball. He also has no college experience as he went straight from high school to the XFL. His career stats are he has 83 passing touchdowns, 25 interceptions, 9,498 passing yards, and a passer rating of 105.4. His accolades are he was a 2021 Offensive Player of the Year. He was a 2021 Offensive Player of the Year. In 2021, he had 286 rushing yards, which led the team, and he led the team in rushing touchdowns with 4 rushing touchdowns. He didn't really get much help, yet he still led his team to the XFL Championship Game and almost won if it wasn't for a miracle play in the last few seconds. So that's your top 15 XFL prospects. You will see these guys in the online CFM. So that's going to end this season for our Chicago Bears franchise, as the Eagles defensive back franchise ended with the Super Bowl loss. This is going to end with this video, and then the XFL series will end when all of these guys go to a team or don't make it onto a team, and we'll recap that. And yeah, with that being said, if you know, man, because we know we up next, sponsored by Atari, and